Hello, everyone at home. Welcome to takTalks number 9. This is a place where I get to do what I love, which is talking to actors about acting, growing up, all that kind of stuff. I'm Takaya Honda. You should know that. I hope you know that. If you don't know that, that's me. Today I have a really awesome guest. I love him dearly. He's a good friend of mine. He is a fellow cast member on Neighbours. His name is Ben Hall. Please welcome Ben Hall. Yay!
Hi guys, hey Tag, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Just at home like everyone, behaving,
Well,
having a
I'm
beer.
sure you're not behaving too much, are you? Hence the beer.
I've been pretty good. There's not much that I can get up to here, really, apart from having a beer with you.
What have you been getting up to? What's been filling your time in isolation?
Well, actually, I've been trying to set up a little home studio so that I can, hence all this gear. I don't know if you can see some of this stuff here. But it's so I can keep recording some voiceovers and stuff from home because, as you would know, we've been sort of stood down for the next little while. So I'm trying to find some way to make some money and keep doing some stuff on the side while we're
Yeah,
here.
we're not one of those we aren't those celebrities who seemingly have a mansion somewhere and have a giant pool, a tennis court, and all that kind of stuff.
No, this is like about the extent of my apartment. This is about there's another one room like this size, and that's about it.
Yeah, and Prue's in that one, so
Yeah, exactly.
What have you been doing though? You just been watching stuff. You've been working out. You've been outside, obviously.
Yeah, I've been watching that De Niro series, Hunters. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh yeah,
it's on Amazon.
or is it Al Pacino?
Yeah, I've been watching a bit of that.
De Niro in as well.
No, Al Pacino. Sorry, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's directed by an Australian too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because there's a couple of Aussies in it. Kate Mulvaney's in it, and John Noble's in it.
Oh yeah, I did one lesson, like acting lesson with John Noble. I did like a whole series with his daughter, and then he came in for maybe one or two, just before he booked that sci-fi thing. What was it called? Or he had booked it but hadn't started filming, and they're like, I don't want to. He was like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't never talk about anything until the money's in the bank because, like, as we all know, like it can just disappear.
They fall through.
So
I mean, even when you've got the job, sometimes they disappear. A few people have found that out at the moment, which is scary.
Right.
Yeah, I worked with him. He was in Devil's Playground. He played maybe Cardinal. He might have played Pell, actually.
Oh, really?
Was it Pell? Cardinal? He played a Cardinal.
Well, he'd be good at that too.
Yeah, topical. He was. He's very creepy, and he's very good in this Hunters show. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch.
Check it out.
But apart from that, man, just the same as everyone else. I'm trying to get out and go for walks and exercise, go for runs, bit of stuff around the house, fixing things that I've meant to be doing for ages.
What have you been fixing? Anything fun?
Oh, just putting up stupid things, paintings on the walls and little things that have broken. I mean, we're in a rental, so it's not like I can suddenly build a pergola or something like Matt Wilson. But just little things, mate. Just keeping busy.
Yeah, nice.
Reading, all sorts. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Any tips for anyone at home? Do you think that anything you found? I heard actually Fletch said something great yesterday. I heard. I think it was on Sharon's story. And he said what he's been doing to get through it is rather than focusing on what he can't do, he's been focusing on what it allows him to do. So all the things that reading or whatever, the things that he usually doesn't have time to do, going through all these photos and doing all his editing. Is that Prue in the background saying hello? Coming in the back.
It is.
Okay. Hello, Prue.
Okay. I'll see you soon. Prue's just going for a
Bye,
walk.
Prue.
We've been doing a lot of walks.
Yeah. Us too.
I think Fletcher's totally right. I mean, that's sort of the same thing that I've been doing. It's just all those things that, when you are flat out busy and working and stuff, you never get the chance to do. And even like a lot of people putting pressure on themselves to, like learn loads of new skills and all that stuff's great, learn a language and learn which I think is awesome. And I'll probably get to the point where I'm like the same. I'm like, oh, how do I learn Italian? But at the same time, just having a bit of a relax and reading and watching stuff and enjoying yourself, like it's nice.
It is.
It's a little bit of a break.
It is
peaceful,
Yeah, allow yourself to do that. I mean, that's the thing. I think people got stuck a bit feeling like they had to be productive or now's the time they have to write that novel or something. It's not about that. It's not about feeling the pressure of now I have to utilize the time. It's just realizing I have the time, so I can actually spend an hour or whatever doing that a day. But then I'm also allowed just to chill out because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety around. And I feel like you've got to allow yourself to deal with that because if you don't, then it's going to come out in other ways, and that's not so much fun. And it's never the work that you want to do, those productive things that you want to do, are never going to be good because you're coming from not such a healthy place to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the greatest art comes out of complete boredom. The greatest ideas come out of complete boredom. Um, I've seen some amazing stuff on, like, friends doing stuff on and posting on Instagram, like painting and stuff. And it's like, I'm like, how did you get so? It's like a week. It's like a week in. How did you get so good so
How have
fast?
you mastered
Like
that
doing this incredible
already?
stuff. Like I can't even paint like a stick. Like a
I
stick
did.
figure.
I
Like
did see a great
struggle
thing
with a tree.
on Reddit yesterday. It was this guy. He got those string glow sticks. So they're about like
Oh yeah.
30, 40 centimeters long, and then he made himself a stick man. So he did a circle around his head, then had a little neck, and then had arms and legs, and turned off the lights and was walking around like a stick man. He
Oh,
then
good. I
hit
mean,
a piece of furniture and fell on the ground, which was also funny. But it was this amazing image. I'd never seen anyone do it. I was like, that's so clever. Like, it's so simple. Like, just a couple of glow
yeah.
sticks, but then actually became a stick man, which I imagine like there's probably been ads or something that have done that, which actually went to the effort of doing the graphics of it and actually made a graphic of a stick man and then moved it around, rather than you could have just stuck the glow sticks to people, and it works so well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's the silly stuff that's always interesting. You never know, like that goes, maybe I could use that in a short film at some point. That'd be fun. But now I've just exposed myself for stealing the idea, so I don't know if that's a good idea.
Man, most good art stolen from somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's the whole postmodern idea, right? Anyway, moving on from our isolation chat, let's talk about you for a bit.
Oh, God.
So you
This is like my therapy
I know.
session.
That's the way I want you to see it. I don't want to see tears. I want to see laughter. I want to get the full gamut, right? That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
So you were born in Perth as well as growing up there?
Yeah. Born in Perth. My family, mum and dad, are still there, and my brother. And we spent most of the time there, although we spent a bit of time in New Zealand as well. Mum's from New Zealand, so we've got family in Tauranga over there, North Island.
Cool.
So when I was about, must have been two or three, I spent a little bit of time there and did a bit of like, kindergarten and stuff there.
Oh, cool.
So I have a very, close affinity with New Zealand and that sort of side of things as well. But yeah, mainly Perth, which is a beautiful place.
Yeah. Were you close to the city, or were you out from the city a bit?
Close to the city, but I mean, the nice thing about Perth is you're like 10 minutes, 20 minutes to the beach, even if you're in the middle of the CBD. And I mean, the city itself isn't particularly exciting.
A street, really.
Sure,
So.
Yeah, there's not a lot to it. Although it is getting better and better. But it's those beaches, it's the river. Like we'd go wakeboarding. I used to know guys that you would catch get a dinghy to and from school. Like in the mornings and
Get
stuff,
a
and
dinghy,
after school.
so for a dinghy for everyone
like
at home,
to
it's
their
like a
house.
little like metal boat.
Yeah, like tender, like a little, and they'd catch that to school, and I was like, it's a great lifestyle.
Yeah. Do you ultimately want to go back there? Would you bring up a family there yourself?
It's a great place, I think, to have kids, and I'm really glad I grew up there because it was a little bit more sheltered and allowed me to sort of, I don't know, grow up a little bit slower, which was nice. Would I go back there? It's hard because there's no real work. There's a bit, and there's a few actors there, friends of mine that have grown up there and stayed there and continue to work, and they get all the work because they're, one of like 5 or 10 people there that just, have stuff. But it's not particularly challenging.
If you're at a level where you could fly in and out, would that be like the place you go? I'd definitely sit up there and then fly out to do my big film for a couple months and come back, kind of thing.
Maybe, but it is really far away. Like even, your big film, if it's in Sydney or something, you're like, I got to get a 6-hour flight and then, and shoot. And films like they never shoot, you're never there for like the entire time. You'll be back and forth and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I love it for holidays. I love going back over Christmas and summer and stuff. And like right now they're still allowed to go out like on boats and things. And I'm so jealous. I see my mates going out fishing and stuff like that. 2 people only on the boat, but it's that sort of stuff that I miss, and it's that sort of stuff that I go back for. It's been 4 weeks over Christmas just boating, fishing, camping. Well, that was like an ad for something.
Boating, fishing.
Yeah, it's like that. It's BCF fun. Yeah, no, it really is.
All the UK viewers are like, I have no idea what they're singing about right now.
Yeah.
So is your brother younger, older?
Younger brother, who is a muso, and he's doing his teaching degree at the moment. As he sort of tacked on, he went to WAAPA as well, which is the arts academy over there, and did voice and guitar. So he writes a lot of his own stuff, and should really at some point do something with him, write something or produce, put something out there with him when I'm back one time.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I'm sure the chat's probably
yeah,
about to light up to
he's
do that.
actually far more talented than I am.
Well,
to
to
be
say
honest.
that means that he must be insanely, insanely talented, because you're pretty talented yourself, Ben.
Oh, thanks, mate. Oh,
I know that's where you
stroke my
were
ego.
trying to head me, like get me to go. That's like you were
Just
trying to lead me down that path.
give me a
You're
compliment.
milking it.
I've been in isolation too long.
I need more compliments. I need them now.
Yeah.
What did your parents do growing up?
Mum's a
Oh, cool.
nurse.
Is
Always
she
been a
still?
nurse.
Is she on the front line right now?
She's actually she was doing her training to look after COVID patients on
Oh
Tuesday.
wow.
Yeah, so she usually looks after outpatients after surgery, that sort of thing, in a private hospital. So they're preparing. I mean, they've actually got quite low numbers over there, and it looks like at the moment we're not going to be anywhere near as bad as a lot of other places. But they're just preparing just in case they need to use those hospitals for patients and stuff like that. And it's not exactly. I mean, she's probably fairly high risk. Mum's. Well, I shouldn't really say her age.
That could be dangerous.
She's. I think she's 58.
That's still young. That's still young.
So she's not like she's really healthy. She's really fit. They do. Mum and dad do triathlons and stuff like that, and so they're it's not like they're super high risk, but you just never know with this thing. It's you've seen people under.
Well, they've had there's the
really
Olympic swimmer, the South African guy who got it and said that he thought he was going to die, and he's at like super athlete level. So I mean, it seems to be just. They haven't figured it out, but there may be just something genetic that some people have that that this virus just really latches onto. But and that's what makes it so scary, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a bit scary just sort of discussing it with Mum, like whether she, stays on. But she, in some ways she kind of has to, because Dad has his own little business. He's a print broker, so he basically does anything that's printed.
Oh wow!
And there's been a big downturn, obviously, because all these small businesses closing, all these big businesses without not needing much work, and there's a lot less advertising and all that sort of thing. So if Mum stops working as well, then it gets tight, it gets tough. We didn't grow up with lots of money or anything like that, sort of fairly working class, but it's a worry, because for me, I'd be like, Mum, just stay at home. I know, if they don't need nurses, like, which, at the moment it's the numbers aren't high enough that they're desperate or anything like that for more medical staff. Then I'm like, well, it's a big risk. What if you're just one of those people that it doesn't sit well with, if you get the virus, if it affects you in a bad way. And I wouldn't even be able to go over there and get into the state because they've got hard lockdowns on the borders.
Yeah.
So
That's also the thing. The terrifying thing too is, like, if you do get sick, then you get isolated, like, from all the people you love too, and you want it to be that way because you don't want them to get sick either. But that's like, it's a really lonely place to be in at that point, But moving away from the COVID chat again.
Going back there.
So both you and your brother are performers. Like, did your parents have any of that in them, or was it really just you guys just for some reason got it from somewhere?
No, Mum's a singer.
Oh, yeah.
She did a lot of sort of like gospel singing in a church.
Oh, wow.
For a long time. And like my granddad, he's 90 now on Mum's side, and like he's got a wicked voice too. He's just, like, he never was a professional singer or anything like that. I think he was a builder, and but he can sing really well. So there's I suppose some genetics involved there, which is helpful. But there's no actors or like professional musicians or anything like that in the family. I think we're probably the first, and I think my brother's most likely wants to go into something a little bit more stable, a little bit more reliable.
He's a little bit smarter than us too, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think my parents are like relieved, to be honest, because it's like, great, two sons, and they've both gone into the arts, and they both know that it's not an easy gig. They're constantly,
but they've also always been supportive, though, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. Particularly Mum. I mean, no, both of them have been. I think Dad probably always suspected, like, he always wanted to put in, like, oh, maybe it's worth having a bit of a
Yeah.
backup or something else there. Like maybe you could study this on the side, and to be honest, these days I think he's right. Like if I had the chance to do it again, even now, I think, well, maybe while we've got this time, I'll just learn something else, just something with my hands or something a bit more practical. And part of that comes from the fact that it's not so much that I, like desperate to have another income source, although that's also nice, but more so that I feel like actors aren't, and a lot of artists, particularly at the moment, aren't like considered very useful or very, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well,
Even though we
yeah,
are, I know we are. I mean, imagine going through this without Netflix and all the other things, books
any
and
form of art that fills
any form of
everyone's
art.
time all the
Yeah,
time.
I mean, it would be awful. But yeah, there's this kind of, I don't know, underlying theme, I suppose, or of just maybe it's not as respected in this country as it should be.
Yeah, well, the government's kind of proving that at the moment. And for
Yeah.
everyone who's at home, they just didn't pass a thing to have freelancers and actors and performers and artists and stuff included in the job keeper stuff, so that those people can get paid to keep doing what they do. So it's super sad, especially on top of the amount of cuts that the ABC's had over the last few years. And ironically, the thing that everyone's turning to at the moment to get their information, because you do just get the information. That's the biggest thing. I mean, I'm constantly looking at the graphs that they put up, the infographics of the rate of infection and that kind of stuff, and seeing how that's tracking. And there's no fluff around it. And it's sad that's where the country's going at the moment. And you kind of hope that the direction changes, but even at a time like this, which seems such an obvious time to go, wait, the arts is actually important. And ironically, after a time when during the fires, the arts were the ones that really got people together to get money for the people, and not for that it's a tit for tat type situation, but it's just it's really sad at a time now that where the arts are struggling so hard and there's no one's in a position to do anything about it except for the government, and it's proving to just leave us behind, really, which is super sad. And it could mean that a year from now, depending how long all of this goes, that the Australian arts industry, which employs a huge amount of people, employs more people than mining, could just be basically nothing, which is a scary thought in a big way. But who knows? Maybe this will inspire some private companies to come in, and a studio system will be set up.
Yeah, well, I suppose we won't see the full effect of it until later down the track. I mean, you imagine something like Neighbours or Home and Away. We've been stood down now for a little break. But if that was to play out for a long time, there's 3 months worth of episodes there that people can keep watching. But then suddenly we go off air. Then suddenly people realise, we need them to keep making this show, and it's too late. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've missed that opportunity. So it's very hard to get something back up off the ground. And I think you'll see a lot of shows just either disappear off the air or just not get made because there's no longer any funding for it.
Yeah. We keep getting sucked in this COVID chat at the moment. It's really... No, it's good. I think it's good getting this information out there too. It's important at this time that everyone's aware, and everyone, especially who are in Australia, are contacting their MPs or telling their friends of the situation, because, like we've been saying, if you've been filling your time reading books, watching stuff on TV, or streaming stuff, watching stuff even on YouTube and that kind of stuff, these are all by people who are in this industry, and a lot of them might not be here next year being able to do this because they weren't served through this time, so they've had to move on to something else. But coming back to your childhood, were you one of those kids that did performances at home? Maybe with your brother or something?
Oh, yeah. I think, but most kids do that. I don't know if that's like a prerequisite, prerequisite to going into acting or the arts, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we did one that I remember was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Which one were you?
The Hulk. I Oh, it was the album. It was the Anthony Warlow album that we had. And Mum had it, and I think I would do the whole. Chris would just press play, and I'd just do the whole. Act out the whole scene. It's like a weird thing where he, like, when he's morphing into Dr. Jekyll or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Hyde. I don't even know which one's which anymore. But
Oh, yeah, I can't
yeah, we used to do stuff like that. But we used to play and sing together. Even recently, he'd play guitar, we'd sing duets and stuff, and muck around and just jam, which is nice. I miss that. I miss having him there to play, because I'm pretty atrocious at it. So it's nice to have someone else who's like
who actually
really
can.
skilled on an
How many instruments do you play though? Because I see you playing the piano. Got the keyboard. And stuff.
I can play a bit of keys, and I attempt guitar. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to use this break to learn how to play guitar. But I'll leave that to him if it's going to be a live performance. That's for sure.
Yeah, nice. What was your first? When was your first performance on a stage? So it could have been at school or whatever. Remember what it was?
Probably primary school. Like most schools, I actually went to a really conservative Christian, like really quite religious primary school, and but they used to do these like concerts or whatever at the end of the year. Every year, like every grade would do either a play or some sort of a musical or whatever. And I think the earliest one I can remember, probably years 1 and 2 and stuff, you just stand there and sing along to a song or something, like something really basic. I think the one I remember was we did one called Wombat Stew.
Wombat Stew.
Do you know that? It's a kid's book. It's a really famous Australian a children's book. Great book if you haven't read it.
Look it up.
If you're 5. But that we sort of turned it into a play. So it was like a play reading of this book where we all dressed up as the different animals, and basically it's this dingo that's like going to eat the wombat, and I think all the other animals come in and try and
what animal were you?
I was the wombat.
You were the wombat.
Yeah, I was getting eaten. Lead role, mate.
Of course. And they looked around and went, "Who looks like they could be eaten here?"
Yeah,
Ben Hall.
Who's the little fat chubby kid that could
looks like a wombat.
Fit in the pot. Yeah. And that was probably my first performance.
Yeah. How about acting? Yeah. Did you do drama and stuff at school as well?
Yeah, at primary school we didn't really have a specific drama course or anything like that, but I did drama at high school. But I never really thought that I was going to do it as a profession. It was always just a hobby. Yeah. Or just something that I enjoyed doing and was sort of good at, so kept doing it. I actually thought I was going to be a swimmer for a long time. Oh, I spent a lot of time training to be a swimmer. That didn't work out.
You could have known my brother then, because he works with the swim team, the Australian swim team. So I didn't know that. Yeah, he's a sports scientist. So he's literally yesterday was his last day. They've kind of been stood down as well. Actually, it was really interesting talking to him how they're trying to approach the training and that kind of stuff, because all the pools and stuff are closed, and
of course.
People have like harnesses and stuff with bungee cords and stuff for their pools, but they can only do so much with that because it loads. This is getting really technical, but like it loads the shoulders at the wrong point in the water, because it's at the start of it, as opposed to most of the power that they should be generating is when their hands are basically vertical and then pushing backwards to push them forward. But because when you're in a bungee cord thing, it's all at the top. So there's really they've taken a whole lot of done a whole lot of tests and stuff to see where the athletes are, so that if it's 3 months later that they can start swimming again, how much they've lost, and then trying to get that back by next year for the Olympics. But otherwise, the whole team could basically just be wiped out, and in the idea that they won't be able to be competitive, because there's certain teams or whatever who've suddenly gone up a mountain or whatever together, so they're completely isolated and they're just training high altitude, and but we don't really have the facilities sort of set up anywhere to do that. I asked like about, well, the AIS, the Australian Institute of Sport, is like a complex, and couldn't everyone go there, isolate them all in there? And he said there was talks of that, but then it's just the idea that if one person comes in and the entire team gets taken out in one hit, because if any of them get sick quite badly, they're out for months, because the recovery is so extreme. And for swimmers, breathing's so important, the respiratory system goes down, so it's the sports have been hit quite hard too, and they're trying to figure out ways that they can work around it. But it's difficult across the board, really.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, sorry. So you wanted to be a swimmer.
Interesting.
What was your stroke?
Yeah. Freestyle.
Long distance or short?
Short mainly, 100 meters. But yeah, I went to nationals with it and that sort of thing.
Yeah, wow.
But it's like you have no life. You have absolutely no life. Like your brother would know. Like those guys trained probably. I mean, I was nowhere near that level, and I was training. We're doing 9 sessions in the pool and 3 sessions out of the pool, something like that, a week. So you're like, you know what I mean? You're just living and breathing it. You're there all the time, and when you're not there, you're exhausted from being there. So it's not much of a life. I mean, I suppose if you go on to win a gold medal, then it's all worth it. But by the time I got to sort of year 10, 11, I was like, man, I got no friends. I need to stop doing this.
Not sure if that's because of the swimming or.
Yeah, that might have just been me.
No, it's also a hard thing with swimming too, because it's like seen as such a big sport around the Olympics. But then once the Olympics are over, then it's hard work earning money, you know, as a swimmer as well. So your parents must have been looking at you going, man, like, come on. Well, pick one thing that
pick something that will make you some money, you idiot. Yeah, no.
And they're like, the swimming sort of faded off. They're like, oh, great. And then you're like, no, I'm going to be an actor. And they're like, no.
Damn it, even worse.
So
I could have gone into coaching or something.
So swimming sort of died off, and then you wanted to make friends. Yeah. So drama was like, or musicals and stuff were like, I can make friends there.
Probably. I mean, I don't know if it was that.
Yeah, I know. There's other things.
Clear cut, but yeah. I mean, it was like, it wasn't that bad. I wasn't like, a huge loner, but I went from this really conservative primary school to an all boys like Catholic school, which was like a real mix. And like it was so different to where I'd been. Like we didn't swear when I was like, I didn't swear until I was in probably year 12 or something. You know what I mean? Like, and in primary school,
I don't know what you're talking
swearing about. Well, now I'm like swear like a sailor, but like, we was super conservative. I remember someone saying like crap or something in primary school, and like we're year 7 or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was like this huge deal. Like go get the teachers, and like it was.
What? So
like,
the other students were going to dob you in?
Yeah. Like It was like really stupidly conservative. So it was a bit of a shock, like going into it when I changed schools, and it was like, there were guys that had gone to public schools, and also, it was just way more experienced, way less conservative, basically. But stopped swimming, and then sort of got into the drama scene and music, and it was also a great way to like avoid the rubbish subjects, because the drama and music teachers were so relaxed, and you could stay in there all like during lunch times, and like half the time I'd be going, I've got a music lesson, and you'd just be up there by like with a couple of the other boys just mucking around, learning some, jumping on the keyboards or on the drums or something, and mucking around for like 2 hours instead of being in, I don't know, religion or something like that. That was also good. That was a nice part of it. Yeah.
So you finished school. Did you finish school and think I want to be a musical theatre performer, or was that...
Oh, hell no. No, I worked pretty hard at school to try and I kind of wanted to try and do med. It could, mainly because mum's a nurse, and I thought, oh, well, it'd be cool. And I'm sure my parents were like, that's a great idea. Yeah, lots of money. But what happened? I think my drama teacher in year 12, she sort of was like, what, you could do this for like a living. Like you're good enough to, if you really love it, then you might as well. And so I auditioned for WAAPA, but I wasn't expecting to get in. It was more just the opportunity to give it a crack. I couldn't audition for the acting course. I could only audition for the music theatre course, because the acting course one was during year 12 exams. So music theatre was the only one I could audition for. Otherwise, I probably would have done audition for both. But I'm glad I did music theatre in the end, because it just meant, it sort of brought me out of my shell quite a bit, because you can, music theatre kids are like the loudest, most out there, crazy, bunch of people you could possibly get in a room. And also just like a couple of extra skills. Like it was good to be able to, keep working on singing, and I can't dance to save my life, but we did do dance classes for 3 years. So.
You can now dance slightly better than you could before. I mean, that's helpful, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
You are comparing yourself to people who had been dancing their whole lives and stuff, so I'm sure you can dance better than what the average Joe can.
Sure, the average Joe. I'll leave the real dancing up to like Ben Turland or
Yeah.
someone like that.
Well, I mean, you can't. That's the thing. You can't compare to like someone like Ben Turland, who since the age of 3 or something. Yeah, and then won like what was it, Young Talent Time with his group. And,
Did he?
Yeah. That's how he knows Millsy.
Small world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that
was that teacher then probably one of your strong mentors or guiding forces at that time?
Definitely. She was like exactly what you expect from a drama teacher too, like this sort of big lady and like hard and dry as hell, and just like no shit. She would take no shit whatsoever, you know what I mean? Like, and she'd be smoking darts down in her car, like you'd catch her, like she'd open the door and all this smoke would come out. It's just like these, but just a legend, and took care of all the, there's often a lot of like damaged kids in drama and that, or like kids with anxiety or kids with
ADD and
trying to learn about, trying to work themselves out, kids coming out and that sort of stuff during that period. And she was the teacher that was always there, always defending them, always looking after the students. So she was a great mentor, and she definitely was the one that gave me the confidence to go and give it a crack.
That's awesome. That's I think those sorts of people are so important, and I think that's where the value of teachers and good teachers makes such a difference to people's lives, because if you don't find that person who can inspire you or push you in a direction that is going to mean that your life might be more successful than going in a different direction. Because I had the same thing. I had a teacher who, because I love drama, I love performing, loved singing when I was younger, was doing it from when I was, I guess, 8 or 9. I remember being in like kindergarten and being in like the kindy choir and knowing and having a sense that I'm actually not too bad at this, and because of that enjoying it, you know what I mean? And I had a teacher who, when I started doing drama as a subject in year 8 or something, who, like a parent teacher night, came up to my parents and just said, he's really good, you've got to let him do this. And that was a moment for my parents and for me to go, oh, like, because he doesn't need to say that, that doesn't, totally. That needs to be said. You can, and so those sorts of moments, those sorts of teachers are so important, because neither of us might be here if it wasn't for, those two teachers.
Yeah, definitely.
So shout out to teachers.
Were your parents supportive of that, like, or did they need that little push from a teacher?
They've never been not supportive, but they were sort of similar to you in terms of why don't you because I did well at school, like maths and English and all that kind of stuff. I did pretty well at, so they're like, why don't you what about law, or what about being a doctor? And I showed interest in those things, but what I discovered was that my interest lay in the films and TV series that I watched around those things, not the actual doing of it. And then I thought, well, if I'm an actor, I can do all of those things, but not actually have to do all the hard work that it takes to become that.
Actually learn all that.
And here I am being a doctor, so tick that box.
It paid off. There you go.
Now I'm a doctor and an actor, Mum. So you went straight to WAAPA out of high school.
Yeah, I was the youngest music theatre person to get in. Up until I left, I was still the youngest, but I don't know if there's probably someone who's younger than me that's beaten me now. But yeah.
So you were 17, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because I thought you had to be 18 by a certain date, or would you just scrape in or something? Maybe that's only 9.
Well,
it's slightly different.
I don't know what, because in WA you finish school. You finish school at 17. You finish your 12 at 17.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're not turning 18 in that year 12.
No.
Yeah, okay, so you turn 18 in your final year.
Yeah.
So you start a year earlier.
It must be something like that. But yeah, so I was young, and to be honest, in hindsight, maybe a year out to have just worked a bit and not been in school would have been a good thing, because it was like I went from school to school, because WAAPA is 6 till 6 every day. It sort of it's not like a normal uni thing where, and it's 18 people all in a, super tight knit little basically like almost kind of year 12, but on a smaller scale,
Yeah.
and super, super intense. And I took it, I didn't take it for granted, but I probably would have been able to focus on the most important things that were going to be more useful outside of there had I spent a bit of time outside before I started. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it really
Um,
depends on the person going into it. I was talking to Lucas Radovich yesterday, and
mm,
I think he had one full year before he went to WAAPA. He had auditioned, but he missed out, and he said, "I was so happy I actually missed out because that year he went and travelled, and he sort of learned stuff about the world, and then so when he was there, he could see the difference between the ones who had some life experience and the ones who hadn't, and not." But there was people there who were very mature for their age or whatever, and who did get that. But but for him, he was very appreciative of not getting in that first year because
yeah.
he felt he wouldn't have been ready had he did.
Yeah. And I mean, even just to have that experience to go off and travel and stuff and learn more about yourself. I mean, my teachers the entire time I was there were constantly telling me to try and get life experiences, like while you're here, like, like weird things, like, like hook up with as many people as you can and go and do this, like, like have some experience because you've done nothing and you've been, and you're quite conservative, like I was, because I, kind of come through that in schools and stuff as well. So WAAPA was sort of the place where I could let my hair down a little bit, but at the same time, yeah, it would have been nice to have a year just to really realize how good it was to be there, and also because I went, from WAAPA, and then you get straight out and you start working and slumming it, and like trying to get a job and an agent and all those things that every actor tries to do, and you kind of miss out on that period of like, I don't know, of just like mucking around. Like I presume uni for a lot of people is like where they just have a great time and like party.
Yeah,
and
they have like 10 to 15
and
contact
travel.
hours, and then they're just
Yeah.
hanging out the
And
rest
then
of the
the
time.
rest of the time is like drinking beers and, having fun and meeting people and having relationships and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, I felt like I missed that a little bit. So that, yeah.
But you're on Neighbours
But
now, so I guess it
good,
works out.
Yeah. Now I'm just doing that now. Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah, that's what you say when Prue leaves the room, right?
Yeah. Drinking beers, not the relationships part.
you met Prue at WAAPA, right?
No, I actually met Prue. When did I meet Prue? I met Prue in Sydney at the Rob Guest
Endowment
Awards night. Yeah, that in the endowment. And that would have been probably a year after I finished.
Oh, right. I always had an impression that you guys had met over in WA. That's really interesting.
No, she's from Ballarat.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, she's from here.
So, what was your first date like? Can you remember?
We kind of weirdly, I met her at that Rob Guest endowment. She was a friend of a friend, so said hello and whatnot. And then, what happened after that? I'd actually just broken up with my ex-girlfriend, so I sort of wasn't, like literally 2 days beforehand or something like that. So I was kind of just like in a daze, it wasn't like out there like, hey, how you doing? I'm Ben. And then we ended up, like a couple of my friends were going to Sexy Sunday Jam, which used to be this.
Yeah,
like,
I went to that.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, on Oxford Street, which was just like live music for and for people that don't know, but there was a lot of music theatre people.
Everyone
there,
gets up on the stage,
but anyone could get up.
times.
Yeah, Millsy got up there. That's the first time I met Mills as well. Was at Sexy Sunday Jam. But she happened to be there as well, and actually, I think I was with a friend from WAAPA, a gay mate of mine, and we were there, and she thought I was gay. She thought that I was dating my friend Ainsley, and so that was our sort of first. For ages, she just thought I was gay. So that didn't work in my favour quite as well as I thought. Anyway, I went back to Perth for a while and blah 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 blah. Anyway, when I was doing Les Mis in Melbourne, we sort of just had kept in touch on Facebook or something like that, and been chatting and stuff. And then when I came back to do Les Mis in Melbourne, we caught up and had a coffee down on Exhibition Street.
So at that point, did she know that you weren't gay, or did she think it was?
Yes, I think we'd figured that out quite quickly. I think someone told her, actually.
Oh yeah, you said, "Hey, mate, can you let Prue know that I'm not gay?"
Yeah. Help me out here.
That can be a hard. That can be an awkward, or not awkward, but It can lead to sort of funny situations when people think that people aren't into them, into their sexuality at all.
Yeah, totally.
Because when that happens, like, because people, you say the exact same sentence, but if you think of someone in a different way, then just the context completely changes the meaning of it. And
yeah, you are no longer flirting; you are just being weird.
well, you can do both of those things at once sometimes too. So,
no, I think it's a fair call, to be honest, because like I think at WAAPA, like I reckon 80% of the boys were gay. I reckon it was probably a 20%, so that there was 9 guys, 9 girls. I'd say probably 7 or so were probably gay, and then 2, so it was a fair assumption.
Yeah,
to be honest.
In the musical theatre world, it's probably more common than in other worlds. Matt, we had Matt Verevis said, we did plenty of wild shit at WAAPA. He's being coy.
I'm glad it is.
Are you glad?
We did some wild shit, but like I said, like that was my letting my hair down period that got me out of my shell there. Matt Verevis, he was the one that probably got me out of my shell quite a lot.
How so?
Just booze and things. I'm not going to say them here. It's too...
All right, so you've left WAAPA. What was Les Mis the first thing you did from after leaving? No. Actually, I did Devil's Playground first. That was my first gig with Tony Collette and John Noble, who we were talking about before, and Simon Burke was producer and acting in it as well. That was actually one of the first acting gigs. Or any gig that I've done, to be honest. I really enjoyed it because it was just such high caliber actors, and being a music theatre, I was like, I'm way out of my depth. I've never done any screen, like I have no idea what I'm doing, but really great script, really awesome directors, and it was a really cool little series, like mini series. But it was basically at the same time. It was about Pell, really, and about sort of sexual abuse cases in the Catholic Church. And I played a guy whose younger brother committed suicide because he was raped by a priest. Pretty dark sort of content, but poignant right now.
But it was probably, was that 5 years ago? So it was probably around that. It was around the same time I remember shooting and going home, and all the stuff about Pell was on the news. And so it was very topical while we're shooting. It was quite surreal. To be sort of shooting this really dark stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff had already come out about other priests and whatnot, but it was just suddenly so close.
Did that make
home.
it feel more important while you're on set?
Yeah, definitely, because you suddenly felt responsible for telling the story, to those victims, for those victims. Definitely just suddenly gave it an extra weight.
So your first gig out of WAAPA was an acting one. In that final year at WAAPA, were you thinking that acting and musical theatre and stuff would be both two avenues that you're definitely going to be going down, or were you like, well, I'm in the musical theatre thing, that's where it's going to be, and then maybe acting will come?
I was going to be a dick. No, I
found
always,
my real passion.
No, I'd always preferred acting. Like, acting was my main strength, I suppose.
Right.
And I'd always wanted to do TV and film stuff and plays, straight plays. And so the aim was to get out and try and get one of those, so that I didn't get pigeonholed in the music theatre world. Yeah, because I mean, there's still that sort of divide here. There's a lot of people that cross over now, but there's a lot of people that will still go like, oh no, they're music theatre, they're too big, or they're not. It's not going to work on camera, or they don't really know what they're doing, which I don't think is true at all. I think if you're a good actor, then you can definitely play in either medium. Yeah,
well, they're different skill sets, but so is doing theatre and film to TV to doing what we do is different to like other types of dramas as well. And it's just a matter of whether you have that bit of skill sets, or
Yeah, exactly. And I think that those sort of things are things you can learn. It's not like, I think if you've got an innate talent to be an actor, and you've trained and you've worked on that, then it's not like this massive jump or something that you're never going to be able to do. I think it's just something that
that's the role of
you
the
have
director,
to learn,
right? The come in and
particularly. And I mean, the first thing I did when I got to Sydney was find a coach that was going to help me, try and do some sort of more screen-based stuff, or screen tests, that sort of stuff. Because I knew that was a better way in than trying to do a musical and then do TV and film afterwards, because people would have some sort of judgment, I suppose.
So it's pretty awesome then that you booked something like Devil's Playground, which is literally at the top of this is an actor type production to be in,
Yeah. I mean, full disclosure, I hadn't met Simon Burke before, but Berkey, we call him, Mum Burke, is a big music theatre man himself, and has done, and lots of plays and lots of TV and stuff as well. And I think that helped. I think it was not. He believed in the fact that someone who'd trained in music theatre was
open-minded to it.
Yeah, he was open-minded to it, and not that I knew him or he was, but he gave me the benefit of the doubt, and we became great friends on set. And he's a lovely, lovely guy, and a incredible actor. Like, he's one of those people that can easily move between
do anything
between both. Yeah.
Okay, so you did Devil's Playground. What was next?
Then I think I did Les Mis. That was quite a long time. That was 14 months. Yeah, 14 months.
Yeah.
Was run a play.
Which again is like it's kind of like an actor's musical as well. Like, there's such a
even though it's fully sung, it's like an operetta. So, but I suppose there's a bit more grit to it than, say, like, I don't know, 42nd Street or something. I don't know.
Whatever,
you know what I mean? So, and also there's not much dancing, which really suited me quite well. But that was great. I love that. That was one of the best experiences I've had. It's tough. It's a completely different ballgame. And I still think it's music theatre and doing shows like that for long running shows, like those guys that do that all the time and jump from show to show and like that, it is so hard.
Brutal on their bodies.
It is brutal on their body. It's brutal on the mind. It's a little bit like being in lockdown. Like, you get up every day and you're like, oh, I've got to do that same thing, and I'm really locked into what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I've got to, there's a whole process. And if you're a lead role, you've got to protect the voice all the time, and you've got,
any little injury is like a huge deal.
Yeah, massive. And you're paid usually next to nothing, and it's and you're living out of a suitcase in kind of crummy hotel rooms and things like that. It's a tough gig. So you have to have really good people around you. And I mean, they're talented mofos, like really, really talented.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved doing that. And I mean, the funny part about, and there's a funny story that goes with that, is that my ex-girlfriend, we'd both auditioned for the show whilst we were together, but in the lead up to when the show was on, because they cast a year in advance, we'd broken up. Anyway, she got cast as Cosette, the sort of love interest in the show, and I got cast as the Marius understudy. So I would go on for Marius, and did go on for Marius in the first week, because the Marius hurt himself, and I hadn't been rehearsed in yet, so I didn't even know. I made up some words, It was probably atrocious, but anyway. But I would have to go on stage and pretend to be in love with my ex-girlfriend whenever I was on for that role, and it was hard.
It's a strange experience.
Oh man, that's why any budding actors out there, anyone who wants to get into the industry, you don't date the people that you're going to end up working with. It's no, like, don't date. I mean, I'm still dating Prue, who's also an actress, but like, don't do it. It's just bad. It can work out in weird ways. There's so many stories like that too in the industry. So yeah,
there's your hot tip.
Yeah.
So what was the journey from there to Neighbours then?
There's a few years in between there. What did I do? I did a couple of the TV shows. What else? There was Brock, which was really fun. That was for Channel 10, which was about Peter Brock's life, and I played his brother, and we had some awesome cars and stuff that we had to do around the track, and met some great people on that. Although the finished product was,
Well, I think you just filmed that when we met.
Yes, yeah.
Which people had seen the photo of us floating around. That's us two in bed together. Which the first day we met each other, we were in bed basically the whole day together. In this, it was a trailer for a thing called Naked Strangers.
You did the final,
yeah, because you booked Neighbours. So
yeah.
But which was actually that day was a lot of fun. We shot like 16 pages or something that day. It was good training for Neighbours in a way.
Totally.
And it was hot, and we're in this bed, and then there's
four of us.
Four of us playing. So the premise of the thing is that the film plays out as like a 90-minute real time. There's 2 characters, but 4 actors play the 2 characters. So there's a guy and a girl that play each character, and they interchange at any point in time. So you get combinations of a guy, girl, girl, and a girl. And it sort of explores. It's as confusing as that sounds. It sort of explores the universality of love it starts the morning after the night before, where they've hooked up or whatever, and they've woken up not really remembering exactly what happened the night before, and seeing whether that becomes anything. So we shot like the first sort of 15 minutes of the final thing in a way, which
That's
is
right. Is there anywhere people can watch the actual?
No, because I'll have to.
I mean, as a shout out to Lincoln Hall, who directed and wrote it.
Who's done some really awesome stuff and got into Trop Fest a couple of times, and worked with Nat Bass too, which is a weird Neighbours link. But he's a beautiful man to work with. But I'll have to ask him, and then maybe I'll post it on. If there is a link somewhere, I'll post it. I'm sure you will as well, or whatever, and people can watch that.
Yeah.
Because it's quite a cool thing. It's like,
really cool concept.
And it actually works quite well. The actors change and whatever, and it doesn't feel like you can't. It's kind of like watching Shakespeare. After 15 minutes, you just get used to hearing the language if it's done well, and then you're just watching the story and learning the story.
Yeah.
So we did that. We spent a day in bed together.
That's right. And we did that.
and then you basically booked Neighbours right after that, right?
Yeah, I got the call. I remember I was shooting Brock. I was in the trailer when I got the call saying, "Hey, you got the gig," and I think there was something weirdo, because I remember I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! I got the gig. That's so great." And then I got a call back again saying, "Actually, sorry, they've given it to someone else." Yeah. And I was like, "What? What's going on here?" And then I got a third call that was like, "Oh, actually, we have another role, a different role, and we're going to give you that one instead." So it was
what was the first role that you were going for?
I went for the priest.
Oh, for Morley's character.
John Doe, yeah. What was his actual name?
Jack.
It wasn't Jack. Jack. Yeah. The character was John Doe when he first came on, because he didn't know he had amnesia or whatever. Everyone's got amnesia. Anyway.
He had the best start, though, a month of just lying in a bed.
Lying in a bed, yeah. In a coma. I know.
Having Limp come up and talk to him. And
yeah, that's right. Yes. Anyway, so that was the role originally that I was offered, and then had it then it changed.
Obviously,
and then it changed again. But anyway,
and we're like, "Oh, you fit in this priest."
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they saw us in that bed and they're like, "No, that's not going to work."
Maybe I ruined.
Can't have him as a priest. Yeah. So then I ended up. I didn't even know. I don't think they even had a character brief for Ned. They didn't. They didn't even have a name. I don't think. It was just sort of an idea, and they thought, actually this might work quite well.
What I love about that is that they've potentially cast you as Jack, who's going to end up being a priest, and this very holy kind of character. And then they went, "Oh, actually, no, there's another role that we could do for you, who's like angry Ned."
This ex-bikie tattoo artist who's got dad issues. That was kind of the brief when I called them. I was like, "You want me to be a helmet now?" Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, but it's been fun. I've loved playing this role, because it's kind of it varies so much. One week I was going to give something away. One week I'm in Fight Club, and the next I'm standing in for you doing your wedding.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That storyline was.
That's funny. That was a funny.
Some weird stuff. God, we get up to some weird stuff there.
Some hilarious stuff.
It's definitely the job where I most often look at it sort of in a weird third person and go, man, it's so weird what we do.
Yeah.
Like most other jobs, I'm just in it. Yep. But Neighbours, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I here? What is this? What is this gig? This is so strange.
But you kind of have to as well, I think, because we're shooting so much. You have to be able to pull out from it, because it isn't like a film where you might shoot for 9 months or whatever, and that could be fairly intense, but you're shooting 90 minutes or 2 hours worth of stuff. We're shooting 6 episodes with each, like, I don't know, 23 minutes or something. That's like 2 hours a week. If that amount of content, you kind of need to be able to give yourself some separation, because I think you'd just blow up or something if you.
Well, some people do.
Well, please tell. What are you?
It's secret Neighbours business.
That's the up late version of this show.
Yeah, it's too early. We're still in the time slot. I said a swear word before. I'm gonna get in trouble. Aren't I? It's just the same. Is it PG?
This is. I tick the box that says not designed for children or whatever.
Explicit content.
Well, it's not that. It doesn't go that far. It just says you haven't designed it for children. Which I don't know if that hurts me in an algorithm sense or whatever, so that kids don't get guided to watching this. But I don't know if they should. I don't know if they'd find this interesting or not. But I guess, has there been something that from Neighbours that you've learnt that going into it you didn't think you would learn? Like something that like I brought up last week, talking about how, working with so many different directors and really discovering the kind of communicator that you like to work with and that kind of stuff. Has there been something on, and also how to work with directors that you don't necessarily communicate well with?
There's so many little things that that I've picked up that you just can't get anywhere else, because you're not shooting for long enough. You know what I mean? You'd need years to really get the amount of stuff that we get in maybe a couple of months, because it's so full on. I suppose. What's some of the most important things? I suppose being able to improvise and allow things to flow really and change really quickly. I think that was the thing that I didn't expect when I first came in. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been so strict about learning lines and being specific about them and having an exact...
The commas and the full stops all mean something specific. And
Exactly. And you can't really do that with Neighbours, as you know, because it changes so frequently.
And it's being written as fast as it's being performed.
So fast. Yeah, I mean, there was stuff that they pumped out, last weekend, or when we were still there, but in one night, and then now make this.
Here's 35 episodes, and go.
Yeah, and off you go. Yeah, and so I think that's been good, because it's allowed me to free things up a little bit and add a little bit more personality, and of myself to the character, but also, I mean, I think you see guest roles come in, and they're often takes them a while to not be stilted. Even some of the top quality actors that have come in, that have worked on heaps of other stuff, because they're just getting the script a week before, just like the rest of us, and don't have the time to get things right in the body. You do have to be able to improvise and make it flow and make it natural, and if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not going to look right in the end. Do you know what I mean?
I think that I think what you've sort of sparked in my mind just then was that I feel like before doing something like Neighbours, and often it's like a general acting thing, that a lot of people are reaching over somewhere else. They see that there's a character that they've got to try to become. And I think the more you do Neighbours, you realize it's not about what you're trying to get to. It's what you can bring out and add to. So, like, obviously there's they say that the film or whatever's made 4 times. Once by the writer, once by the set, then once by the editor, and then once at the end somehow. Maybe it's 3 times. I can't remember. Anyway, but the point being that, like, you've got to take what was on the page, and it's not about trying to reduce yourself or just do what was there. It's about taking that and adding to it, giving it more value by bringing your own experiences and whatever to it to enrich it with something, which is where you get those moments where who was I was talking to? I was doing a film script, like cold read thing, the other day, and one of the notes that they said to the writers was a lot, like in film, most actors are trying to reduce the amount that they're saying, because they want to act what they're doing rather than tell everyone what they're doing. And I think that's where, if you start to bring those moments where you start to enrich the character with stuff, it's then you allow yourself to have moments in the silence that mean a whole lot more, because you've seen that as an opportunity to bring something, as opposed to, well, my character hasn't been told to do anything and therefore I'm not doing anything. You know, there's a switch there.
And I think it allows you to play a lot more in the moment and respond more. Do you know what I mean? Rather than being like, well, I'm going to do exactly like this, ding, 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 ding. You know, I mean, you can take things and listen a little bit, listen more, even though, you know, because often it would take me a long time to get to a point where I felt like I was prepared enough that I can then let go of that preparation, which you don't have that time for this, and therefore you have to get to that point much quicker, and so that you know to allow it to be free and whatnot. So I think, that's what this show sort of taught me, is to be able to get there faster. And I wouldn't do it for everything. You know, everything it's its own beast. You wouldn't use the same, you know, all the same methods as you would on a film or on a play or whatever. But it's definitely taught me some good skills, some good improvisation skills, some good relaxation skills, I suppose, as well, you know, to sit in it.
Cool. Well, let's go, because we've hit over 6:30, and I don't want you to keep more than an hour. There's so much more that I could keep talking to you about acting, but we'll go to the chat and I'll have a look at some questions. Have you had any crazy fan experiences?
Crazy fan experiences. You know what? I was up in Brisbane a little while ago, and Prue was doing a show there. And because they were doing, you know, like 8 shows a week or whatever, I was like, I took this car and I went up to Noosa because Liv was having a holiday up in Noosa. So I was like, I'll drive up, we'll go to the beach, go for a surf, catch up, you know, have a bit. Anyway, in Noosa, I've never had so many people come up. Like we were getting beer at the pub. We had about, I reckon, 8 people come up, and maybe it was because we were together, so it was a bit more obvious, maybe. You know, like, oh, there's the people, you know, but like offering us drinks, buying us drinks, wanting to ask us questions. And I'm talking like people in their 30s and 40s, not like, you know, young people or like particularly old people. Sometimes, you know, that's sort of the majority of our audience. But, you know, and it was like everywhere we went. And I was like, no, people in Brisbane and Queensland. You know what I mean? I was like, this is weird. In Noosa, like of all places, I was like, this is the strangest thing. But yeah, that was the most like intense it's been. Just the generosity and the like the fact that they actually were like, you know, not genuinely interested in wanting to know about how the show worked and how we were, and you know, that sort of stuff. It was nice.
Yeah. Well, I've always found that the experience has always been positive. I've never had anyone negativity, really. Have you had negative experiences?
Oh, like just people shouting stuff out at you, you know, when they sort of recognize you, and they, you know, they'll often yell at weird, you know, and it's kind of like somewhat derogatory. I don't know why. Like they'll be like, "Hey, where's your tattoos?" Or like, you know, "Where's Yashvi?" You know, like weird stuff, and it's like, you're bagging me out, but you're watching the show.
You can't you can't bag me out for being on it if you're watching it.
Exactly.
It's a real weird.
It's weird stuff. Like,
it's like a self-hate thing. It's like they hate themselves for liking it, and so then they got to take it out on you.
Yeah, it's funny, but I mean, nothing too bad. Obviously, I've been get some weird messages on Instagram and social media and stuff. People asking for photos of your feet and all those kind of
Feety McFeet face.
Feety McFeet face. Yep.
All the actors know what we're talking about. Everyone's like, what's this Feety McFeet face? Well, I mean, if you're into feet, you might want to look him up. But no, he, she. I think it's a he. But are you an expert boxer like Ned?
No, but since doing that storyline, until all the gyms got shut down, I was boxing 3 or 4 times a week at shout out to Fight Fit in Collingwood there. Really nice guys, and they sort of taught me all the stuff that like I needed for when we were shooting that storyline. And yeah, I'd been going back all the time, so I've got some gloves and I've got a bag outside.
Well, that's right. You're really excited, like on our last day, because you just gotten some new gloves, hadn't you?
Yeah, and I stole a bag from work, so I've got some
stole
stuff to
stole.
All right,
it was the one that Ryan left behind. We have like a It is like a boxing gym. Like it's like something out of Rocky. Like
a cage.
It's a cage and it's dirty. I'm pretty sure the roof is asbestos.
A lot of rat shit in there.
Pigeon poo everywhere. It's so dusty. There's some yoga mats to put on the floor when you do like floor work, and they're covered in dirt. I mean, we're lapping up the luxury really on set. But Ryan was the person who Maloney, who plays Toadie, was the one who like put it all up there. He just found all this secondhand stuff and bought it off whatever garage sales and stuff and put it up there, and then took it home at the moment. So he's got it at home
for the break.
Yeah. People are asking if you've met Natalie Imbruglia.
No, I've not met Natalie. She's my mum.
Yeah.
Beth. She played Beth back in the 90s. 90s? Yeah, must have been.
Yeah. It would have been early 90s.
But no, unfortunately, I haven't. If I do, I will make sure I get a photo or I don't know, get a video or something just to prove that I've met her.
Yeah. That'd be kind of a nice
nice to meet you, Mum.
You know, you should like slide into her DMs and Insta and say, "Hey, I'm your son that you don't know." Just that. Just leave it at that. She'll be like, what? What? It doesn't quite work so well with a female because I feel like they'd know if they've had a child.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. I think it's been a really good chat. There's still more that I'd want to talk to you about, but maybe another time.
Yeah, mate.
Get you on.
Thank you for having me on. It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, stay on the line. I'll do a little sign off and announce my next guest.
Ooh, who is it?
Thank you everyone at home for joining us for takTalks number 9. My name's Takaya Honda, and the next guest it'll be on Monday, Easter Monday, and happy Easter to everyone out there, and happy birthday to, I saw people in the feed saying that it was their birthday, and I wish I could find you really quickly, but there's a lot of messages. Happy birthday. It was my brother's birthday yesterday. It was Scotty McGregor's birthday yesterday. It was Alex Long's birthday yesterday, who's one of our makeup artists. So happy birthday to all of them too. But without further ado, I say that a lot to introduce people without further ado, but Monday's guest, it'll be 5:30 p.m. For everyone in Australia and 8:30 a.m. In the UK. Well, BST, whatever that stands for, British Standard Time, I'm guessing, is Olivia Deeble, who is a home and away, was a home and away actor, and is now doing some really, really cool stuff. Head to my Instagram because there's a very, very funny poster that I'm going to post after this for the episode, which is very different to what you're seeing right now, but it's going to be a really great chat. We've known each other. We have the same agent. We've known each other for a couple of years now. Her mum's been on Neighbours as well, so there's another link. But she comes from like acting royalty, really. But yeah, thank you very much. Thanks to Ben for joining us. It was a really interesting chat. I hope you guys got as much out of it as I did. Please hit the subscribe button and comment after if you aren't watching this live, because it really helps other people see it, and I want as many people in this time to see this as possible, and hopefully they can get something from it, especially in the UK when they're only getting 2 eps a week of Neighbours. But much love to all of you. Stay safe, stay home, and stay healthy.